The night was too quiet on the edge of the outpost. It's a kind of silence that made a soldier's instincts tighten like a coiled spring. Marcus Hale stood watch on the ridge, his rifle slung across his chest, his eyes tracing the horizon where the desert met the stars. For weeks, his unit had patrolled this forgotten world. A dusty rock abandoned by most charts, yet ordered by command to guard it as if it were the key to the galaxy. Marcus had seen war zones. He had seen chaos. But this silence, it felt wrong. Then he heard it. A sound that didn't belong. Not the whistle of wind, not the shift of sand. It was softer, broken, almost human, but not quite. A cry. He froze, pressing his ear to the night, heart pounding against the metal of his armor. Again, the sound came, weak and trembling, drifting across the dunes. A voice, but not in words he knew. It was cracked with pain, desperate, like someone calling for help, but too far gone to scream. Marcus adjusted his visor, scanning the darkness, but the night swallowed everything. His training told him to report it to the squad. His gut told him something else. He waited. Whatever made. That sound would vanish. Against every rule, Marcus stepped off the ridge and into the black desert. The cry grew louder as he moved, carrying with it a weight that pressed against his chest. It wasn't only sound, it was inside his head, brushing against his thoughts, pulling him closer. He pushed through jagged rocks and dry brush until he saw movement ahead. A figure staggered into the open, collapsing to the sand. His breath caught as his visor adjusted. It wasn't human. The figure was small, frail, its skin pale and faintly glowing under the stars. A woman, or something like one, her limbs too thin. Her face sharp with alien beauty, her body wrapped in torn cloth stained dark with blood. In her trembling arms, she cradled a bundle pressed tight to her chest. Marcus lowered his weapon slowly, his soldier's caution clashing with the undeniable truth before him. An alien mother. She looked up at him with wide, shining eyes, terror, and exhaustion swimming inside them. Her lips moved, shaping sounds he couldn't understand, but the meaning stabbed into his mind anyway. Help. She crawled forward, dragging herself across the sand until she was at his feet. With trembling hands, she pushed the bundle into his arms. Marcus stumbled, startled by the sudden weight. He pulled back the cloth and saw a child, small, strange, but alive. Its skin glowed faintly, its eyes half-lidded but bright like embers. Beneath glass? No, Marcus whispered, his voice cracking in disbelief. I can't, the mother shook her head, coughing blood, her words fading but her intent burning through him like fire. Protect the child, keep it safe. Her hands pressed the bundle tighter against his chest, and then they fell limp. Body sagged into the sand, the glow in her skin flickering out like a dying star. Marcus stood frozen. The alien infant warm and trembling in his arms, his heart racing as the weight of what just happened sank into him. A mother had chosen him. Stranger, a human soldier, to carry her last hope. He didn't have time to process. The night sky cracked with light. From beyond the dunes, engines roared, and beams of searchlights swept across the desert. Dark shapes rose over the horizon, armored vehicles gliding across the sand, their silhouettes sharp and hostile. Marcus ducked low, instinct taking over, clutching the infant to his chest. His visor identified the craft mercenary gunships, not his own. Whoever they were, they had been hunting her, and now they would hunt him. His comes crackled with his squad's chatter. Hale, report. We've got unidentified movement in your sector. What's going on out there? Marcus stared at the lifeless mother at his feet, then at the glowing child in his arms. His throat closed. He couldn't tell them. Not yet. Something deep in his gut told him if command got word of this, the child would never see another sunrise. The searchlights swept closer, dust clouds rising with the engines. Marcus's pulse thundered in his ears. He had two choices: drop the child and run back to safety, or carry it and paint a target on his back, in the memory of the mother's dying. Eyes cut into him like a blade. He already knew his choice. He adjusted his grip on the infant, secured it against his armor, and turned toward the jagged ridge beyond the desert. The mercenary lights found the body he left behind, voices shouting in a language he didn't know. The cry that had led him here now echoed in his head, stronger, pulsing like a signal. It wasn't just a cry for help, it was a beacon. Marcus ran, sand kicking beneath his boots, engines screaming louder behind him. The child stirred, its glow brightening, and for an instant, Marcus felt something reach into his mind, a voice. Not of words, but of need, trust, and power. The soldier's world had just changed, and he knew there was no going back. Ahead, the ridge loomed like a jagged fortress. Behind him, mercenaries opened fire, tracer rounds lighting the desert night. Marcus tightened his hold on the child and dove into the shadows, his lungs burning, his body driven by one truth. A dying mother had given him more than a burden. She had given him a choice that would decide far more than his own life. And the stars above seemed to tremble, as if something vast was already listening. The desert came alive with fire. Bullets tore through the sand behind Marcus, each tracer round flashing like burning comets across the night. The mercenary ships swooped lower, their searchlights cutting long white scars into the blackness. Engines thundered over the dunes, sending dust spiraling into the air. Marcus's boots pounded the ground, his lungs straining as he clutched the small alien child tighter against his chest. Every soldier's instinct screamed at him to drop it, to run faster, to save himself. But he couldn't. The weight of the infant wasn't a burden, it was a promise he had already accepted. Breaking it would be worse than death. He cut into a jagged ravine, ducking under rock overhangs as the searchlights swept past. Pebbles showered down around him, engines growling above like wolves circling prey. He pressed his back against the cold stone, breathing hard, the infant shifting slightly in his arms. Its glowing skin pulsed faintly, casting a soft light on. His armor Marcus swallowed hard. The glow would give them away. He pulled the tattered cloth tighter around the child, covering its face, but even then, a faint shimmer leaked through. A sharp hiss of cums cut through the static in his helmet. "Hale, do you copy? You're off grid. Where the hell are you?" It was Sergeant Voss, his unit leader, his voice sharp with command. Marcus hesitated, the truth caught in his throat. If he told them, the squad would lock down the area capture the child and hand it over to Brass. He had no doubt about what would happen next. Command didn't see innocence. They saw weapons, threats, experiments. He couldn't let that happen. "Still tracking movement," Marcus answered, his voice low, steady. "Engaged with unknown hostiles. Falling back to ridgeline. Copy that. Don't engage alone. Keep eyes on until we reach you." Cut the cum before he said more. His squad could not know. Not yet. The baby stirred again, soft sound escaping its lips, something between a whimper and a strange note, high and trembling. For a heartbeat, Marcus thought it would cry loud enough to betray them. But instead, the sound vibrated inside his skull, not through his ears. His vision blurred. He saw flashes, metal corridors, alien soldiers screaming, ships burning in, black skies. The mother's face, streaked with blood, whispering words Marcus still didn't understand, but somehow felt in his bones. Protect. The vision vanished as quickly as it came, leaving Marcus shaken, knees weak. He had seen combat nightmares before, but this wasn't memory. This was the child. Whatever it wasn't just flesh and blood. It carried something far larger. Engines roared closer. A beam of light cut into the ravine, sweeping inches. From his hiding spot, Marcus didn't wait. He shifted the child higher against his chest and sprinted deeper into the jagged gorge. Rocks scraped his armor as he pushed through narrow cracks, heart hammering until the sound of pursuit grew distant again. He collapsed against the stone wall, chest heaving, sweat running down his temple. For a moment, silence returned, heavy and suffocating. Then a shadow moved. Marcus snapped his rifle up, finger tightening on the trigger. A shape emerged from the darkness ahead, a mercenary scout, armored black and jagged, helmet glowing with red optics. The alien lifted its weapon, but Marcus was faster. A short burst cracked through the ravine, echoing like thunder. The scout dropped, armor sparking, weapon clattering across the rocks. Marcus's ears rang, the infant jerking in his arms, but not crying. He checked the shadows, expecting more, but none came. Just one scout, too far from his squad. He stepped over the body, his mind racing. If they were sending scouts into the cracks, he was running out of time. He needed to disappear completely, vanish off their sensors. His visor flashed a navigation feed. Half a kilometer east was an abandoned mine shaft, carved into the ridge. Decades ago, when colonists had first tried to tame this world, it was his only chance. He adjusted his grip on the infant and pushed forward, muscles burning, each step feeling heavier than the last. The cries of the baby pulsed in his head again, softer now, calmer, as if it sensed his resolve. He whispered, under his breath, more to himself than the child, "I've got you. I'll get you out." The mine shaft loomed like a mouth of black stone. Marcus ducked inside, plunging into cool darkness. His visor lit the way, casting pale beams across rusted equipment and collapsed beams. The air smelled of dust and old oil. He moved deeper, the child quiet now against his chest. Behind him, the noise of the mercenaries faded into distant thunder, but he knew they wouldn't stop. They had hunted the mother, and now they would hunt him. Whatever this child was, it was important enough to kill for. He found a corner where the rock widened, hidden behind fallen machinery. Marcus sank to the ground, finally letting his body rest, his pulse still racing. He pulled the cloth back from the infant's face. The glow from its skin painted the mine walls in soft blue light. Tiny eyes blinked up at him, alien yet innocent, staring at him as though trying to read his soul. "Who are you?" Marcus whispered. He didn't expect an answer, but something stirred in his mind again, images of stars. Voices not his own, a feeling of distance so vast it chilled him. The baby was more than a child. It was a key to what he didn't know. But the mercenaries outside certainly did. The ground shook faintly. Marcus froze. The engines weren't fading, they were circling. They had tracked him here. Dust rained. Down from the ceiling, old beams creaking as vibrations rolled through the stone. He pulled the child close, his rifle aimed at the tunnel mouth. He knew what was coming. The first explosion hit at the ridge above, rocks tumbling, light flashing. Through the shaft, the mercenaries weren't searching anymore. They were collapsing the mine to trap him inside. Marcus clenched his jaw, every nerve in his body ready. He wasn't just fighting for himself now. He was fighting for the life of something alien. Mother had trusted him with a life that could change everything. And as the tunnel shook again, dust swallowing the light, Marcus made a silent vow. He would not let them take the child, not while he still breathed. The mine groaned as another explosion thundered above, rocks breaking loose and crashing down like hammers from the sky. Marcus shielded the child with his body, rolling behind a rusted support beam as dust poured down in choking clouds. His ears rang with the sound of cracking stone, his visor flashing red alerts that the shaft was becoming unstable. The mercenaries didn't want to capture him anymore, they wanted him buried. He forced his body forward, scrambling deeper into the twisting passages. The infant clung to him with surprising strength, its small fingers locking into his armor. Like hooks, the glow from its skin pulsed brighter with each shockwave, as though it sensed the danger and was trying to shield itself in the only way it could. Marcus whispered sharp words to himself, old soldier habits. He wasn't going to die in a hole in the ground, not with this child, not with answers so close to his grasp. The passage narrowed into a chute that dropped sharply into darkness. Marcus didn't hesitate. He slung the rifle across his back, held the child tight, and slid. Stone tore at his armor, sparks leaping as metal scraped rock, landed hard on a lower level, pain jolting up his legs, but he stayed on his feet. The air here was different, cooler, sharper, carrying a faint metallic temps. His visor scanned. Faint power readings. The mine wasn't dead. Something was still alive down here. He moved cautiously, sweeping his light across walls that gleamed not with natural stone, but with smooth, dark panels covered in dust. His breath caught. This wasn't just a mine. The colonists hadn't dug into ordinary rock. They had unearthed something older, something buried. A structure. As he moved deeper, the panels grew more intricate, lines of alien symbols etched into the walls. Some glowed faintly when the child looked at them, their light responding to its presence, like stars answering a signal. Marcus slowed, his gut tightening. This wasn't chance. The mother hadn't handed her child to him by accident. She had led him here, to this place. He stopped at a chamber carved into the rock. The walls lined with broken consoles, alien machinery long abandoned, but not dead. As his light swept across it, the child shifted in his arms, reaching out a tiny hand. The nearest console flickered to life, a ripple of pale blue light spreading across the surface. Strange symbols crawled across the screen, shifting until they formed shapes Marcus's visor could half translate. The words that appeared made his blood run cold. Vault access initiated. The child's glow intensified, flooding the chamber with light. Marcus staggered back, shielding his eyes. The walls themselves began to hum, the floor vibrating. Beneath his boots, he felt the voice in his skull again image, slamming into his mind like waves. A battlefield stretching across the stars. Whole fleets burning. Worlds turned to ash. And at the center, a figure of light like the child. But grown, standing with hands raised as entire armies halted before it. The vision cracked apart into fire, the screams of millions, and then silence. Marcus collapsed to his knees, gasping, his body trembling. The infant's glow dimmed again, leaving only faint pulses, realization pressing down. On him like a weight he couldn't carry. This wasn't just someone's baby. This was a key to something vast, something ancient. A power that could command war or end it. And that was why the mercenaries hunted it. Why the mother had given her life to place it in his arms. The cum in his helmet crackled suddenly, dragging him back to the present Hale. "Your signal just came back online? Where the hell are you?" Voss's voice again, sharp, demanding. Marcus swallowed, staring at the glowing console. If he answered honestly, the child would be taken, locked away, studied, maybe destroyed. If he lied, he would become a traitor to his own unit. Either way, the choice would change everything. "I'm underground," Marcus said finally, keeping. His voice steady. Hostiles still active. No safe extraction yet. Copy. Voss snapped back. "Hold position. Reinforcements en route. Do not engage further until we regroup." The channel cut. Marcus stared at the child again. Reinforcements meant more eyes, more questions, more chains. He couldn't let that happen, not until he understood what the child really was, a feint. Sound echoed through the tunnel's metal striking stone. Footsteps. The mercenaries had breached the lower levels. Marcus grabbed his rifle, heart pounding. He pressed his back against the console, the baby pressed against his chest. His visor picked up 3 heat signatures moving down the tunnel. They weren't giving up. They knew what was hidden here. The infant's glow pulsed again, and the wall behind Marcus shifted. A seam split open silently, revealing a narrow passage. Lit by faint blue lines, the vault was opening, and only the child could command it. Marcus didn't think. He darted inside, the passage sealing behind him just as alien voices echoed from the chamber outside. Darkness swallowed him, broken only by the glowing veins in the walls. He moved forward quickly, the weight of the child steady in his arms. His mind racing with one thought. He was no longer running from danger, he was walking deeper into it. The passage ended in a cavern unlike anything he had ever seen. It stretched, wide, lined with black stone and towering machines that pulsed with slow light, like the heartbeat of something still alive after centuries of sleep. In the center rose a platform, its surface covered with markings that shone as the child's light touched them. Marcus stepped onto the platform, his breath caught in his throat. The machine stirred, ancient engines rumbling awake. And then, from the shadows, something moved. Not mercenaries, not human. A tall figure of alien design stepped forward, its armor fused with the walls themselves, its eyes glowing with the same light as the child. It tilted its head, studying Marcus. Then, the infant. When it spoke, its voice was not sound, but vibration, pouring directly into his skull. You carry the air. Marcus froze, heart slamming against his ribs. The child stirred, cooing softly, as though it recognized the being. The figure leaned closer, its presence heavy, ancient, terrifying. Do you know what you protect, human? Marcus tightened his grip on the child. Not yet, he whispered, but I will. The cavern trembled as the machines around him surged with light. Figure's gaze burned through him, and Marcus knew that every step from here would drag him further into a war he never asked for. But there was no turning back. Not anymore. The alien figure stood tall, its frame half-fused with the ancient stone around it, as if it had been waiting for centuries. Its glowing eyes never left the child. Marcus felt the weight of that gaze pressing against his chest, forcing him to breathe shallow. Infant squirmed in his arms, not with fear, but with recognition. Its tiny hand lifted, reaching toward the towering being as though they shared a bond Marcus could never understand. The air in the cavern grew heavy, filled with a deep vibration that hummed through Marcus's armor. The machines surrounding the chamber awoke one by one, their lights running in spirals across the black walls, their voices like whispers rising from the deep. The alien leaned forward slowly, lowering its gaze until Marcus could see his own reflection in the smooth metal of its mask. When it spoke, the sound was like a tide in his skull. The air has returned. Marcus's throat tightened. He wanted to demand answers, but the words felt trapped. He forced them out anyway. What is this place? Why are they hunting the child? The alien's eyes flared brighter, and the chamber trembled, as though the weight of history itself pressed against it. This vault is a fragment of the old accord, a covenant written in fire before your species walked upright. The air is the last of the bloodline that once commanded the fleets of light. If it survives, it will awaken what sleeps beyond the stars. That is why the hunters seek it. That is why you were brought here. Marcus staggered back a step, his pulse racing. Fleets of light, command over armies older than human memory. Sounded impossible madness, whispered in the dark, but the visions in his mind had already shown him burning skies and shattered fleets. He believed it because he had no choice. The child gurgled softly, its glow intensifying again. The alien lowered its hand, palm open, inviting Marcus to place the infant upon it. Marcus hesitated, his grip tightening. Every instinct screamed against it. He had fought in enough wars to know trust was a blade that cut deep. Yet the infant stretched toward the figure, the glow spilling over Marcus's armor until he felt warmth soaking through him like sunlight. Before he could decide, the cavern shook violently. Dust rained from the ceiling. Alarms screamed inside. Marcus's visor. His HUD showed explosive signatures registering above. The mercenaries weren't retreating. They were bringing the whole place down. The alien's head snapped toward the sound, its voice rumbling through the chamber. They breached the outer shell. You cannot remain. Marcus pulled the child close again, his heart hammering. Then help me get out. The being tilted its head, studying him with unreadable silence, before lifting a hand toward the far wall. A seam split open, forming a passage that glowed with pale light. The vault will guide you. But know this, human, the air is not yours to keep. It belongs to destiny. Marcus glared at the figure, his jaw tight. Destiny doesn't matter. If we don't survive tonight. The alien gave no answer. Its glowing eyes dimmed slightly, its form sinking back toward the stone, as though it were returning to sleep. Marcus didn't wait for more. He ran toward the passage, boots striking against smooth black stone as the child's glow lit the way ahead. Behind him, the cavern thundered with explosions. The new passage twisted downward, deeper than any mine shaft, until it opened into a massive hangar. Marcus froze at the sight. Ship sleek, alien craft lined the walls, covered in dust but still intact, their hulls marked with the same symbols that had glowed in the chamber above. Their design was unlike anything Marcus had seen in Earth's fleets. They were sharp, predatory, built not for mining, but for war. The child's glow spread out across the hangar, triggering faint responses from the vessels. Lights rippled along, their hulls, engines coughing as though waking from centuries of sleep. Marcus's breath caught. This was a fleet, an entire buried fleet. And the mercenaries above had no idea what they were about to unleash. He pressed forward, searching for an exit, but the ground shook again. Dust fell in sheets. He heard the rumble of falling stone and the metallic shriek of cutting torches from tunnels above. They were coming closer. He had minutes at most. Marcus approached the nearest ship, his visor scanning. The system translated. Symbols across the hull. Guardian class. The hatch slid open with a hiss, lights spilling out. Inside was a cockpit lined with alien controls that rearranged themselves as he entered, shifting until they resembled something his mind could recognize. The child squirmed in his arms, reaching toward the controls, and they lit at its touch. Engines roared to life, a deep thrum that shook the hangar. Marcus dropped into the pilot's chair, strapping in with one arm while holding the child with the other. The HUD before him cleared into symbols that merged with faint English translations. Launch sequence active. The hangar doors above rumbled open, dust and rock breaking away as hidden systems forced them apart. The explosions outside grew louder, closer, echoing through the chamber. Marcus gritted his teeth, hands tightening on the unfamiliar controls. He had flown ships all his life, but never one like this. And yet somehow the systems seemed to flow into his thoughts, responding not to his hands, but to his intent. The roof split wide enough to reveal the night sky. Fires burned above, smoke curling from the colony, tracer fires streaking through the air as mercenary gunships circled. Marcus pushed the controls, and the Guardian lifted smoothly, its engines blazing white. For a heartbeat, awe filled him. The ship felt alive, like it wanted to move, like it wanted to fight. Then the mercenaries saw him. Spotlights cut across the smoke, locking onto the rising vessel. Sirens blared. Missiles streaked toward him from two gunships circling above.
Marcus
Cursed, slamming the controls forward. The Guardian darted aside with inhuman speed, the missiles slamming into the rock below in bright fireballs. The child cooed, the glow around it flaring, and Marcus felt the ship respond. Its systems sharpening as though guided by the infant itself. A second volley streaked toward him. Marcus snarled, pulling the controls. Energy built in the ships. Wings, and then a beam of white fire lanced out, slicing the missiles apart before they reached him. The shockwave lit the sky, the mercenaries scattering in panic. Marcus's lips pulled into a hard, cold smile. For the first time in years, he felt the rush of true power beneath his hands. The cum in his helmet crackled again. Voss's voice roared, confused and furious. "Hey, what the hell are you flying? Stand down, soldier."
S.
"That is not standard protocol." Marcus ignored him, eyes locked on the burning sky ahead. He had no intention of surrendering this ship, this child, or the destiny tied to both. The war had already begun, and he was sitting in its first weapon. The Guardian surged. Higher into the night, engines screaming as the fleet buried beneath the world began to stir. The Guardian tore through the night, its white engines carving streaks across the stars. Marcus felt the ship move as though it were part of him, every thought flowing into its controls, every instinct amplified by the strange bond between him, the vessel, and the glowing child in his arms. For the first time in his life, flying wasn't a struggle of hands and switches, it was instinct. Raw and immediate, as if the ship wanted to fight, wanted to destroy anything that stood in its way. Below, the mining colony burned. The mercenaries had spread across the ridges and valleys, their armored carriers flooding the streets with troops, while gunships circled like vultures. Out. Spotlights swept the terrain, and tracer fire laced through the smoke-choked air. Above, 3 heavy frigates broke through the clouds, their angular hulls bristling with cannons and missile racks. They weren't here to capture anymore. They were here to erase. Marcus's cum hissed with overlapping voices, Voss shouting, orders, mercenary commanders, barking coordinates, terrified colonists crying for help. The chaos pressed in on him, but his focus narrowed to a single truth. If he didn't act now, The colony and everything inside it would be ashes. The first wave of missiles streaked toward him from the lead frigate. Marcus jerked the controls, and the Guardian rolled sharply, dodging with impossible precision. The infant's glow surged, and the targeting reticles across Marcus's HUD sharpened, shifting from red to white. Without hesitation, he willed the ship to fire. Twin lances of light erupted from the wings, each shot faster than any projectile. The beams sliced through the missiles midair, igniting them in a chain of explosions that lit up the night. For a brief second, the mercenary fleet faltered, unsure of what they were facing, and every gun turned toward him. Marcus dove. The Guardian cut through clouds like a blade, twisting and rolling between streams of heavy fire. He swung low across the valley, the ship's cannons burning through a circling gunship and sending it crashing into the hills. Another gunship tried to flank him, its rotors screaming, but Marcus spun the Guardian on its axis and fired. The blast ripped the aircraft in half, scattering flaming wreckage across the colony's outskirts. The child laughed. A small, innocent laugh that chilled Marcus's blood even as adrenaline burned through him. This infant, this heir, was connected to something far larger than he could imagine. And somehow, it was enjoying the firestorm. Voss's voice cut. Through the come again, raw with disbelief. Play? You're in over your head. You don't know what you're flying land that ship before you get everyone killed. Marcus bared his teeth, eyes locked on the frigates above. You're wrong, Commander. For once, I know exactly what I'm doing. He pulled the Guardian upward.
Ah, the engines flared.
Pushing him higher until the burning colony shrank below and the frigates loomed ahead like dark fortresses in the sky. They opened fire, their heavy cannons roaring, shells ripping through the air. Marcus felt each impact before it happened, his mind sinking with the Guardian as if it whispered warnings into his skull. He weaved between the barrage every movement, sharper than human reflex should allow. Then he struck. The Guardian's wings glowed with building energy, brighter and brighter until Marcus thought they might shatter. He pushed his will forward, and the ship obeyed. A single beam erupted, so intense it cut through the nearest frigate's shield in one heartbeat and sliced straight through its hull the next. The ship exploded in a bloom of fire and debris, the shockwave rocking the skies. The mercenary fleet panicked. The two remaining frigates broke formation, scrambling to retreat. Gunships fell back, their pilots desperate to regroup. Marcus pressed the attack, chasing them through the smoke and clouds. Another frigate fired a desperate volley, but the Guardian twisted aside, its cannons answering with blistering streams of light that shredded engines and sent the vessel spiraling. Into the ocean below, only one frigate remained, engines burning as it tried to flee orbit. Marcus gave chase, his heart hammering every nerve alive with the Guardian's fury. He could end it here, break them completely. The child's glow intensified, filling the cockpit with blinding light as if urging him forward, urging him to finish it. But then he heard it. Not Voss this time. Different voice. A woman's voice, soft yet sharp, breaking through the static like it had always been waiting for this moment. Guardian pilot, cease fire. Do not destroy the last vessel. We are watching. Marcus froze, his grip tightening on the controls. The voice wasn't human, wasn't mercenary. It carried a weight, an echo, like the alien in the chamber below. The child stirred in his arms, quiet now, its glow dimming as if it, too, was listening. Marcus hesitated, torn between rage and instinct. The frigate was escaping its engines, pushing hard for the void. One more strike, and he could end the threat here and now. But that voice had cut deeper than orders, deeper than reason. It felt like command. Guardian pilot, the voice repeated, firmer now, resonating in his chest. You hold the air. You must not waste the trial on prey that does not matter. Greater hunters are coming. Leave it. The frigate slipped in two, the clouds, its signal fading from Marcus's HUD. He sat frozen in the cockpit, breath ragged, torn between fury and the strange calm the voice imposed. Slowly, reluctantly, he let the Guardian lower its weapons. The battlefield fell silent. Smoke drifted across the valley below. Its fires burned where wreckage had fallen. The colony lay scarred, but alive. Its people staring up at the sky where Marcus hovered in a ship that was never meant for human hands. The child cooed softly, its glow returning to a gentle pulse. Marcus stared at it, jaw tight. He didn't understand half of what had just happened. But one thing was certain, the war was far from over. And somewhere out there, the real hunters were waiting. Smoke still drifted across the ruined valley when Marcus brought the Guardian down to a hover above the mining colony. The fires flickered against the black sky, and the people below stood frozen, staring up at the ship as if it were a god. He could feel their eyes on him, but he could not shake the echo of that alien voice inside his head. Its words still rang clear, heavy with power. Greater hunters are coming. Inside the cockpit, the child rested in his arms, no longer glowing brightly, only pulsing with soft waves of light as if asleep. Yet Marcus sensed that it wasn't simple. Rested was waiting, conserving, like a flame sheltered against the wind. The bond between him and the infant felt stronger now, threads of thought and emotion connecting them in ways he couldn't explain. It was no ordinary baby. It was the heir of something vast, something terrifying. The comm channels crackled again. Voss's voice came through, tired, ragged, but still carrying the edge of command. "Hail. Report. What did you just do up there?" Marcus hesitated, eyes fixed on the dark clouds above where the last frigate had fled. He could still see faint traces of its exhaust trail, still hear the ghost of that alien command in his mind. Finally, he pressed the comm. "I don't know, Commander. The ship is not like anything we've ever seen. It moves with me, fights with me. And the kid, she's tied to it. Somehow, it all connects." There was silence on the line. Then Voss spoke again, voice lower now. "That wasn't just mercenaries. Those frigates, they weren't built in any dockyard, I know. Someone powerful sent them. Someone who wanted this colony wiped out. And you've got their prize in your arms." Before Marcus could answer, the Guardian's consoles lit up with a warning. Not human signals, not mercenary transmissions. Something else. The radar filled with strange patterns, arcs of energy that didn't behave like ships, but moved with purpose. At first there were only 2, then 4, then 8. They were closing in fast. Marcus's gut tightened. "We're not done. They're coming back. But it's not just them. This feels different." The infant stirred, her eyes glowing. Faintly as if in answer, then without warning, the cockpit speakers activated on their own. The same alien woman's voice flowed through, smooth and sharp like cold steel. "You hear us now, Guardian pilot? Good. We are the Council of Heirs. The child you hold carries the blood of the last line. She is the only one left, and she has chosen you. But know this. Others know of her survival. Hunters are already on the way. They will not stop until she is gone." Marcus's hands clenched around the controls. "Why me? I'm no chosen savior. I'm just a pilot who stumbled into this mess." The voice answered with a weight that pressed against his chest. "Because the Guardian awakened for you, because the child reached for you. That is all the reason needed. Fate chooses its vessel, not us." Voss cut in furious. "Who the hell are you? What gives you the right to drag my pilot and my colony into your war?" The voice did not rise, did not waver. "We do not drag humanity anywhere. We warn you. Hunters will erase everything if the heir is lost. That includes your colony, your fleets, your species. Protect her, and you may yet stand. And you will be the first world to burn." The comm went silent. The strange signals on the radar grew sharper, forming into shapes. Marcus zoomed in and saw them ships, but not like the frigates he had fought. These were larger, their hulls curved like predatory beasts, glowing with crimson lines that pulsed like veins. They moved as a pack, coordinated, relentless. Even from this distance he could feel their hunger. The colony below erupted into chaos. As alarms blared and people rushed for cover, Voss barked orders, directing ground defenses to prepare, though Marcus knew it was useless. The mercenaries had been dangerous, but this was the true enemy. The Guardian hummed beneath him, its systems pulsing in rhythm with the infant's glow. Marcus knew what it meant. The ship was ready. The child was ready. Whether he was ready didn't matter anymore. He pressed the come to Voss. Get the colonists underground. Lock down everything you can. I'll hold them off. You'll be killed, Voss snapped. Marcus glanced down at the child. Her eyes opened, bright now, her small hands reaching out toward the controls as if she too were part of the fight. He felt the Guardian thrum with energy, its wings glowing brighter. He shook his head. No, Commander. Not while I'm flying this thing. The first hunter ships broke through the clouds, massive shapes blotting out the stars. Their weapons glowed, charging for the strike. Marcus gripped the controls, his heart pounding. Every sense sharpened to a knife's edge. The voice returned one last time, softer now, almost like a whisper meant only for him. Guardian pilot, remember this. Fire will test you. Shadows will chase you, but only trust in her light. She will show you the way. Then the skies lit up with fire as the hunters opened their attack.